The funding for this video is provided by the amazing members of our Patreon. Also contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Y'all started from PBS Kids, what you gonna do? Fight me? Anyway, roll the video.
I think one thing people forget is that all the media we see, well, with the exception of the popular stories on Wattpad and fan art, which are not just limited to kids, and it's created by adults. So many kids shows and movies parody adult media all the time. There's an entire season of Total Drama where the episodes are named after movies not made for kids. So many kids shows throw away to adult media just as well, with popular one-liners and such. And many family movies use similar aesthetics as adult films do. There's literally a similar shot in High School Musical 2, and Midsommar is actually kind of freaky. Adults are in charge of the media, so certain things that kid and adult media will be similar. As I'm someone who enjoys both, I do tend to see the similarities with them. When it comes to two things that are completely different, I saw the similarities between Miraculous, Ladybug, and Euphoria. Two shows that have interesting characters, beautiful aesthetics, along with having things that happen in them that make you want to scream. But the potential for both of these shows can be much better, but they aren't because the writers and writer don't want to fucking ask for help. Go watch that video, go read that article, the link is in the bio, please check it out, that's one of my favorites. But there's another show that I found a bit similar to Miraculous, and it's one of my favorite series of all time, the Boondocks. Now you're like, how the fuck are they similar? Very.
Hey y'all, it's Harriyanna and I'm back with another video. Hi, hello, how are you doing? My name is Harriyanna and welcome back to the pirate ship, also known as Harry Hook's pirate ship. I am the captain. You are not my first mate. I don't got no first mate because you want to know why? I let everyone in on a little bitty secret every time they come over to my channel. Nobody's worthy of being the first mate, but hi, hello, how are you guys doing? My name is Harriyanna and I like to make content based off nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that I find within those spaces. Now this is actually one that I have planned like over like a month ago, and I finally got the motivation to do it, and that motivation being bills are due, rent is due. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into this. Today we'll be talking about the subjects of classism, elitism, and you guys know racism, as we always talk about. And then I also will bring up how elitism and classism do play into racism. Racism literally affects almost everything in our day-to-day lives. If you're living in America right now, I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous, it's the truth, you're on racist land. Do your research. A simple Google search will answer that for you. All right, let's go. I don't want people over here thinking that this video is just extremely out the ass because these two shows are extremely different. But with every media out here, like I mentioned in the intro, there's gonna be some kind of similarities because at the end of the day, these are all adults, people who have real life experiences and whatnot working in the film industry. So certain things will be similar in ways that you may not expect. So we need to learn exactly what classism and elitism is before we go any further. Basically, I technically am hoping that the viewers watching this have a basic understanding of what racism is. And if you don't, we'll go back to it at the end of the video. But here are two definitions of what classism and elitism are. A belief that a person's social or economic station in society is determined by their value in that society. Also, behavior that reflects this belief, prejudice or discrimination based on class. Elitism, the advocacy or existence of an elite as the dominant element in a system or society. Now, the first one we're going to be talking about today is classism. Now, as you guys know, we are currently in a housing crisis. When aren't we? And I also want to talk about how in this day and age people live completely different lives because of that. And not really in this day and age, but always, because you know, when you're learning about the peasants and the royals and whatnot, it's like different social classes, but you see that a lot of those people act so similar to each other. Where the Boondocks takes place in an upper middle class suburb named Woodcrest. It is fictional, but the place feels very real if you've ever been to a place like that before. Miraculous takes place in Paris, France, which these shows are on different sides of the world, so you know the culture is going to be different, but they both share one big thing in common. And it is very fucking expensive to live in both of these places. According to the Boondocks Wikia,
Woodcrest is an upscale suburban city in the United States, which is the primary setting of the Boondocks franchise. It was founded by the aristocrat Wunsler family in the 19th century, and Ed Wunsler I still has the largest influence over its affairs. It is where Huey, Riley, and Robert Freeman reside, along with the other main cast members.
If you know, you don't, you're broke. But Paris is not cheap to live in. Well, Paris is not cheap to live in if you want to live in an air quote nice area. Paris is literally one of the most populated cities in the world. There are two different kinds of wealth that surround both of these cities, where Woodcrest is ran by the Wunsler family and Paris is ran by numerous rich people. And the Wunsler family is right. You do your damn research, you'll see that these rich families that made France what it is today, white people. When it comes to Miraculous Ladybug, what we do see Paris is usually the parts of the city that are like the most expensive to live in. All of those places that we see in Miraculous Ladybug, like them landmarks and the streets, you say, you can go and look them up on Google, do like a picture search, and it'll show you that those areas, that's, oh, the rent is high. Now, Miraculous Ladybug likes to give off this illusion that Paris is like kind of perfect and everything is all bright and colorful. The streets are clean, the homes look nice. But when you actually look up what Paris really looks like, not what the internet wants you to think Paris looks like, it's honestly kind of fucking nasty. Like, I heard that there's trash like everywhere. I have had like classmates in high school who did like the study abroad programs and whatnot, and even some of the classmates of my current college that I'm at right now, they were talking about how Paris is actually really nasty. Like, don't believe everything you see on the internet. And also they were talking about how it's actually cloudy there. It's not always all sunshine and rainbows. And then I also found out that it smells like tin cans of Bounce That Ass along with bonking Hennessy. I've heard Paris smells awful. Like, I'm not even surprised when I found out that it stank there. Like, I'm pretty sure almost every major city in the world got some type of funk there. Like, you go to certain places in Atlanta, certain places stink, but other places overall it smells alright. Okay, anyway, back on subject. Now, Woodcrest likes to give off this same illusion that Miraculous does just as well. Whenever you see the houses in Woodcrest, you see that they're all fairly big with 2 stories. Here's another insert from the Boondocks Wiki that explain what it looked like better than I can.
Woodcrest is a glitzy suburb with upper middle and upper class residents living in large houses and mansions, including the Freemans. The largest property belongs to the Wunslers, but the property formerly owned by Levinson is also fairly substantial. The homes owned by Robert Freeman and Tom Dubois are fairly large, but comparatively modest. The only known resident not to live in the upscale housing is Uncle Ruckus, who lives in a shack on the outskirts of the town despite his various occupations. He ends up doing maintenance on many of the houses in the neighborhood, often seen doing lawn work.
And then also we see how the grass is freshly cut. Everything always looks nice and into place. And the only time we ever really see lower class in Woodcrest is Uncle Ruckus's character, whose character is literally just a big ass joke. And the thing about it, the gag is that Ruckus doesn't even really live in Woodcrest. He just like commutes to work there, which is a plenty common thing, not just in America, but the entire world. Like, I ended up finding out this was a thing of the entire world when I was taking my French classes in high school and then also in college, and then also currently because I picked up the language again. I found out that a lot of people who say that they live in Paris, they are actually living in the outskirts of Paris, in the small little suburbs surrounding it, it because the rent is just much more affordable. It's a lot nicer, it's a lot cleaner, and it's a lot safer. Like that a lot over here in America. And then also I remember I watched Sunday Love on YouTube. She's a black vlogger that lives abroadly in Tokyo, Japan, but she lives on the outskirts of Tokyo, Japan. She lives in the suburbs and whatnot because, you know, rent, like 9 times out of 10 when people move out of the city and then go to the suburbs, a lot of time it has to do with the sake of money. And then also, you know, location really matters because a lot of people that do live in the parts of the city where there actually are, because people want to have a backyard, a lot of people want to have a yard, people want to have gardens and stuff like that. A lot of cities, because of, you know, infrastructure and the rise of that, it's kind of not possible in a lot of these places. So that's why a lot of people do move to the suburbs so they can feel like they have way more space to, like, you know, live. Okay, anyway, but like plenty of people who work in Paris, they live on the outskirts of it, while working in this rich city and doing labor for people who make much more money than them. And then once their workday is over, they commute back outside of the city. Sometimes it's a personal preference, but a lot of times people live in the outskirts of a big city is because these jobs aren't really paying them enough for them to live there. Like the job that they have is paying them enough to survive so they can stay on the outskirts of it. But in order for them to make a living, pay their bills, put food on the table, they have to make these trips back and forth every day or every other day to do that. Because the jobs that are in their area most likely are not paying enough for them, or all the jobs are taken and there aren't any for them, so they have to go to the big city over. Now these two shows like to give off the illusion that these cities are perfect and they have perfect people in them, but they have two very different ways of showing that this illusion is not correct. It's an illusion for a reason. It's just an illusion. The rich people in these shows are both shown to be extremely flawed. Woodcrest is full of very mean people with shitty political views. That is why the Boondocks is set there. There's a really great video essay. It's called Golden Fro. I'm pretty sure that's his name, but he made an entire video about what the Boondocks means and how it represents suburbia. I will link it down below. That is an amazing video. Go check it out. But the Boondocks is a social commentary about blackness here in America. And the reason them putting it in this setting where it's a predominantly white, rich, well-off town who also don't really care too much about the issues that surround people of color. It works for them putting it in this town full of white people who don't care and black people who are disconnected from their blackness, trying to appeal to the white gaze. While Woodcrest may appear to be this perfect, picture perfect city, is actually very fucking ugly once you find out about the people who live there and the people who own it. Moving on from the Boondocks to Miraculous Ladybug, while Paris is seen to be all beautiful and amazing and it's made out to look like the city where dreams happen, Paris gets fucked up in every episode. And then also, it's not even just that, because mirroring back to the Boondocks, it looks nice, but then when you actually get to see the kind of people that live there, you see that they're actually very nasty individuals. Like, y'all know the movie title Paris is Burning, which is an amazing movie. I highly recommend you guys check that out. Yeah, Paris burns in this show quite often. Miraculous Ladybug likes to make Paris look like as beautiful as possible, and then we see how fucking rude the people are that live there. And then mirroring back to the Boondocks, they have no problem making fun of people who are of lower classes than them. And then we start to see the attacks that go on in the show, and then we see the city get really ugly. We see cars get smashed, we see things get burned, we see people get hurt. Moving on from that, both of these shows are about children and how the adults in their lives are failing them. And Wansler's bitch ass. Ooh, I can't stand him. I have hated this man since I was like 11, okay? The best comparable example of what he has done in this series could be the exploiting that went on with Ed and Jasmine and her lemonade stand. Jasmine has started a lemonade stand and it started to bring in like a lot of money, and let's say, okay, Like $50 is a lot for a 10-year-old, y'all. Y'all gotta bear with me on that one. He's making a lot of money at her age, and then Wunsler sees this and he finds a way to make him more rich because Jasmine is a child. She's 10 years old. She don't know shit about finances, so whatever this man is telling her is very convincing for her. She's gonna believe it because he promised that. I don't think he promised, but he said he'd get her a pony. He didn't get her that damn pony. He just took all her money at the end of the day. Horrible. Then also we gotta bring up Adrian and Gabriel from Miraculous Ladybug. Gabriel uses his son for the sake of making his brand more money just as well. He literally has made his son like the face of his brand without asking his son how he felt about that, and slapping his face like all over the products and whatnot, like literally exploiting his child for the sake of making his brand richer. Because one thing about Gabriel is that he understands marketing, okay? He's a businessman. We have to talk about that, okay? One thing a lot of entrepreneurs figure out is things to bring in newer audiences. We can tell that Gabriel pretty much had that adult audience, but he wanted to bring in that child audience just as well, and that is why he used his son, who is 15 years old. That is the reason why he used him for his brand, because he wanted to bring in younger people to attract that, and it did work. There's numerous like kids all over the world that fawn over Asia and Aggress. It's honestly a very kind of disturbing, like it's giving Olsen twins. It's giving Lindsay Lohan. It's giving Shirley Temple. I'm deeply concerned about Adrian's well-being, being a child star that well known. Like, y'all, I'm sorry, we gonna get back to this. Like, does Gabriel not realize that like he set his son up for like danger? Like, he put a target on him. Like, his literal biggest fan that lives in Paris, like that stalks him, he's been to his house, like tried to come in.
Hey, I wanted to put this little insert in here, but like, niggas will do anything for money. Like, what the fuck? No!
Anyway, classism is started by people who think they are better than others because of the sake of them having money. We see both of these rich cities, and yes, these people have money, but a lot of money does not always equal to somebody being a good person. If anything, money be bringing out the worst in people. Like, I remember I heard that line from Empire where it was Hakeem. Yeah, we don't speak of him, but Hakeem had said something along the lines of,
Hey, so the song is actually Power of the Empire. Yeah, y'all, I used to be a stan of this show. Fuck y'all got a problem. But this is what he said. He said, if money is the root of all evil, you can see me fall. People will never see me fall because I got the power. Like, when niggas get a little bit of money, they like change. Like, I've seen it happen so many times with like a lot of like entrepreneurs that I see online. And it's not all of them, but it happens often. Like, y'all know that shit that's going on like with the manosphere all over YouTube. That right there is like a good example of, like, you know, them say money is the root of all evil, because the main reason why a lot of these guys in the manosphere are making this kind of content is because it was every signifier who said it the best, but they're like, they see that like this insult content, it like gets clicks, it gets views, it like gets money. And I wouldn't be surprised, because of this growth in content that we're seeing, if YouTube changes their requirements again on who can be monetized and who can't, because that's what led to them changing their rules for who can be monetized in the first place.
But basically it implied that like, even though he got a whole bunch of money, he don't give a fuck. I'm sorry, y'all, that used to be my shit back in the day. What Empire has turned to. Moving on to elitism. Now, a lot of people tend to think that classism and elitism are the same thing, but they're actually not. They're cousins, if that makes sense. Now, classism always has to do with money, but elitism always has to do with status. And sometimes, a lot of times, oftentimes, that status has to do with the kind of money that you're bringing in or how you're bringing in that money. For example, let's take strippers, okay? I watch a lot of stripper content on YouTube, so I am aware of like what the stripper life is like, okay? A lot of these people are making bands, okay? Bands will make her dance. They're making like 6-figure salaries being strippers. But because stripping is seen as something that is air quote low brow, because it doesn't really take education to be a stripper, to be exact. That's part of the reason why people feel that way towards it. People who make the same amount of incomes, who got their jobs through their degrees that they have gotten in college, they don't tend to really like strippers. Even though they have the same amount of money as them, but because of how they got their money, instead of them, you know, going to school, getting their degrees and all of that to make that 6-figure salary, they did it a completely different way, and they did it in a way that's not really normally accepted by society. Because we live in a very, very whorephobic world. I talk about this a bit more on my Patreon when I talk about the subject of whorephobia. I will link that down below. If any of you guys are interested, $3 to view it. You can cancel anytime. Well, also the kind of job plays into elitism. Race plays into elitism just as well, because you will have wealthy white people and then you'll have this wealthy group of black people. A lot of wealthy white people don't be wanting to associate with black people simply because they are racist. And then you'll have that elite group of black people, light-skinned black people. A lot of them don't want to associate with dark-skinned rich black people because of colorism. It's a whole cycle of fuckery. Does this make sense to y'all? I hope it does. Now we gotta get on to Ed Wuncler and his elitism. Because Ed Wuncler had no knowledge about Robert and what his life was like before he moved to Woodcrest. Robert is granddad, by the way. I usually just call him granddad, but I don't want people thinking I'm actually talking about my granddad. That ignorance of him not knowing how Robert ended up getting all that money is what fueled his like for him and interest in him. Ed Wuncler also has made it pretty clear that he don't like people of color. It's not just black people. He don't like none of them. So while Ed Wuncler is kind to Robert and he helped him fund his restaurant, he still exploits him by doing that. He's like, oh, I like you, but I don't like you enough to see you as equal as me. You still gonna make me some shmoney. It was just a cover up to exploit him. Because y'all know damn well Ed Wuncler is not doing this shit to his white colleagues. Which we will get back to later on in this video about Ed being racist, because who Jesus. But we have seen that Ed Wuncler is, while terrible, he is friendlier to people of color that have money versus the ones that don't. The ones that live paycheck to paycheck specifically. Like, y'all saw how disrespectful he was to them Latino people in that soul food restaurant. Like, he's honestly a menace for society. Now moving on to Miraculous Ladybug, we see Marinette's parents own a very popular bakery in the heart of Paris. Argue with the wall, they are doing well. They make a lot of money. They have the most famous bakery in town. They get called to do the catering all the time for the big events that take place in the series. Their business makes them good income. But because her parents work in food service, they technically don't fall into the same category as Gabriel's little circle that he has. That weird ass club. When are they gonna explain that? Anyway, because feeding people is seen as lowbrow to a certain extent. It'd be one thing if Marinette's parents owned a 5-star restaurant, but they don't. They have a bakery where people with limited funds can come in and buy something. They have something there for everyone. Their prices are fairly affordable. So that means anybody can just walk up in there. And then also there's no type of dress code or anything. Like, you know how a lot of buildings are like no shoes, no shirt, no service? It's a bit like that. You know how with different 5-star restaurants, if you not dressed a certain way, they won't let you in. This ain't like that. You just need to be fully clothed and they'll let you in the door. Now we need to talk about Marlena, I'm pretty sure it's Marlena, who is Alia's mother. Marlena is a head chef at a 5-star restaurant. But why doesn't she fall into the same category with Gabriel's circle? That's because while Marlena is making good money, she does have a great job like Marinette's parents do. She doesn't own the restaurant. She does not own the 5-star restaurant. It's weird because the only person of color that is in Gabriel's circle, I'm pretty sure that episode where all them people were in his house, I don't think I saw not one black person in there. But anyway, that episode where we see all of those people that are part of Gabriel's circle, Tomo, who's an Asian woman, she's Japanese specifically, she's there, she's rich, but she's wealthy because of her being a famous fencer. She didn't get wealthy for, you know, doing things for other people, like, you know, cooking and all that shit. And then you look at the white people that he hangs around, like, you'll know we'll have Vincent. Vincent is basically a photographer that works for him. We're not about to see Gabriel go out here and hang out with Vincent. Anyone that knows me knows I am obsessed with Vincent. Like, that's my Italian boyfriend in my head. Alright? That's my man. Vincent probably makes good money, but because he is, like, you know, working under him, you see that Audrey is literally the famous director of a fashion magazine that is loved all over the world. And then Andre is literally the fucking mayor of Paris. Is it the mayor of Paris or is it the mayor of France? How does shit work over there? Anyway, I don't know the parliament there. Gabriel pays attention to the careers of the people that are involved in his circle. And then he also speaks differently to those kind of people just as well. While he is very fucking rude to Audrey, the way he speaks to Audrey versus somebody that makes less money than her, it's noticeably different. Also, can we like make a note of this? Because this is something elitist that I noticed in this show that doesn't come from like super duper rich people and people like a high class. But do y'all not notice that, like, y'all know how Gabriel don't leave his damn house and he has like Natalie going everywhere with that damn, like, you know, the iPad? Have any notice that the people that she has to send the messages to where he talks to them through the iPad, do y'all not see? Sorry. Anyway, I'm sorry, my sister's over there. But have any of y'all noticed that, like, they don't acknowledge her right there? Like, does that not piss y'all off? I hate that. Like, it's so fucking rude when she comes and she's just like, Mr. Gress has a message for you. And nobody, like, says anything to her. I'm like, she's there. Like, fucking speak to her. Like, tell her thank you. Or something. Damn, tip her at least. She don't make that much. She don't make enough to do with Gabriel shit. You done? Hold on. But like, she's not any less of a person because she works under Gabriel and her job is assisting him. I don't know what it is, but people that have to do labor for other people, they're like literally shat on. And I'm gonna be real, assistants get treated like shit, okay? I have been people's assistants from time to time when they needed things in high school, got treated like shit there. One of my jobs I had in the past, I was someone's assistant, got treated like shit by not my boss, but the customers. People just think that they can like treat assistants like any kind of way. I see this shit happen all the time on set. Please be nice to the assistants. They don't get paid enough to deal with y'all rude ass bullshit. Please. Now we are on to the racism section on this video because here we're talking about how racism is very, very pushed in our face in one show, and then it is seen indirectly, implied, or just poorly written to the point where it came off as racist. Let's go. Ed Wuncler, the Boondocks, is openly racist. We see how disrespectful he is towards like black children. No, he's just disrespectful to all children of color. Y'all saw the way he was treating Jasmine with her lemonade stand. He literally was trying to get like the FBI on Huey. Like, he has it out for Huey because Huey is one of the few people that live in that damn town, few black people specifically, that sees through his bullshit. Like, he always trying to find ways to ruin Huey's permanent record when Huey's not even doing nothing wrong for the most part. He just don't like the fact that this child is smarter than him. And then he has like Indonesian girls like working for him, like making like his products and whatnot. Do y'all not see a problem with this? It's giving Shein. It's giving Shein, which is terrible. And I bet you he ain't paid them kids. He probably paid them like $5 a day. That is bad. While the Boondocks has numerous racist people in this show, Ed Wuncler is the racist person. His family is the racist family. His brand is literally built off of racism. He's rich because of racism. The people of color in his city don't matter to him, and he only slightly cares, and that's just stretching it because he don't give a fuck. Because if those people people weren't of high class, and if those people weren't making him money, he wouldn't care. The little care that he does have for them, that will be gone. It's an open book that just Ed and his entire family is racist. Ed Wuncler II, his son, slave owner. Yes, that, And then Ed Wuncler III, who is Ed Wuncler II's son, he's literally a hot Cheeto boy. Like, he be saying the N-word, he be cultural appropriating, like, that hot Cheeto boy. Ed and his family's purpose in this show is to show that they are a wealthy and racist family, making things harder for all the people that live there. Now, Gabriel, this is a little bit more complicated. And if you don't know how to read between the lines, just click off. I don't have time for y'all non-nuanced ass comments. Okay, let's go. Miraculous fans of color have like ill feelings towards Gabriel because his interactions with people of color are very off-putting. And before y'all try to say Gabriel treats everybody terribly, listen. Shut up and listen. Miraculous Ladybug is a show that needs to be more careful with what they're doing with their people of color. Like, I'm laughing because it's very ridiculous. Because it comes off as very racially insensitive, and this show really could benefit from not just getting a sensitivity team, but getting some people of color in that damn writing room. Like Euphoria, like I mentioned in that video where I compare Sam Levinson, the creator of Euphoria, and Thomas Astruc, the creator of Miraculous Ladybug. They really mirror each other, and their shows mirror each other just as well because their writing room is just cis, hetero, and white. Like, they dead ass need to get some people of color in that writing room because it just feel like white nonsense at this point. That's literally what Jordana said about Euphoria. Miraculous is too. Now, here's a list of all the horrible shit that Gabriel has done to non-white people. Mind you that this is not on the same level as terrible as what he has done to white people. He's done bad things to them, but here it's a little questionable.
Here's a list of all the horrible shit that Gabriel Agreste has done to non-white people. He kicked Nino out of his house, but he had no issue with letting Lila, who is a white girl, be up in there. He did not want his child around children of color who do no wrong. He followed Alec into the bathroom to make a clone of him, scaring the shit out of him, stalking Alia's family, then holding them hostage, stalking Master Fu, then holding him hostage, constantly akumatizing small children of color, threw Marinette across the room, had no issue with putting his kid around a horrible white family his entire life, literally sent someone to K-word a Chinese man. Gabriel, what the fuck? Do we need to have a word? This is not okay.
He is always bothering like black children. Like, no, I kid you not. Like, every time we see like a small child get akumatized in this show, they are like not white. Like, has no one noticed this? That kid was not white. Was the Froggy kid white? I don't think that kid, because Kuroneko, the rhythm was black. That little girl had beads in her hair. The racist allegations are not looking good for Mr. Gabriel Agreste right now. And you know what? If people want to believe and think that Gabriel is racist, they can. Because it looks terrible. Not all this shit is just very questionable, and it doesn't make it any better because white people are the ones who wrote it. Now, I asked two of my good friends their opinion on this subject of how the show's poor writing has made it look like Gabriel's racist, and here's what they had to say about that.
My thoughts are this. I understand the intentions of the show crew. After all, he's a villain, so he's basically a byproduct of his actions as such. However, the execution by a clearly majority white writing crew is so poor that they often overblow things that shouldn't be this extreme in writing the elements of the characters. You can actually see this with another character. I watched G's Instagram story and she talked about the same thing with Marinette. The intention seems to be good, but because the crew is majority white and majority male, who can never begin to understand the life of a 14-year-old teenage girl, much less a person of color. It leads to some horrible over-exaggeration of actions by her and Ladybug that are extension to make her look worse than her character actually is. The same thing with Gabriel. And quite frankly, because he's a rich white man, I feel like the crew is overdoing it by the poor execution in an attempt to write him as the perfect villain, making him do the most people believe he's too kind to have a heart to do, and that's just sad. They didn't have to do it this way. My thoughts. I saw good potential in a well-written antagonist in the first 2 seasons of this show. Despite the episodes being formulaic and repetitive, I saw Gabriel find ways to use supervillains to achieve his goal and foil Ladybug and Cat Noir. However, the execution of those plans had blown out of proportion to the point of being irresponsible and irredeemable. His motives made sense in the first for the length of he was willing to go, but now it's passed to the point of no return. His inconsistent writing and actions have made him unsympathetic, which makes sense for a villain. It took away his room for some nuance. Also, the lack of backstory made these things even harder in the long run. It is now hard to understand why he's going this hard for someone whom the audience, cannot connect with his love for Emily. Even now, he treats Asia and Natalie cannot be explained either. I truly believe his character could have worked if there was better pre-planning and more writers of color and women screenwriters as well to help with Gabriel's interactions with everyone around him.
And the thing about it is that people want to act as if it's a new thing that we're calling out the weird, racist, off-putting, racially insensitive bullshit and Miraculous Ladybug. No, we've been doing this since Kung Fu came out in 2016 when Chloe was racist. Like, this is not new. We've been doing that. It's just more and more people are talking about it now because the subject of just fandom racism and racism within children's media is becoming more of a serious topic. What takes me out the most is that the Miraculous team and some of the fans of this show constantly see so much of the insensitive shit in here. And it's not even just limited to racist stuff. There's a lot of other weird bigot shit here. And this, like I said, it's been called out for a while, and they don't want to take account of what anyone is saying. They don't listen. Like, they put a whole little racist flag in one of their episodes, and anybody, a basic Google search would have told you that that was wrong. Like, if someone is telling you that you need to do better about what you're doing with the people of color in your series, you should listen. If your fans are telling you you're being racially insensitive, you should listen. If you don't want people to say things about your series being racist, well, maybe you should have done something about it. In conclusion, while the Boondocks and Miraculous Ladybug are two very, very different series with two very, very different premises, they do mirror each other, especially when it comes to the subject of classism, racism, sadly, and then also elitism. Because while both of these shows do focus on wealthy people that live in wealthy areas, you're gonna see a lot of similar problems. Because I noticed when I watch like rich movies that are about like rich children, you know, like Eloise at the Plaza and Richie Rich, and then you'll go watch something that's basically R-rated like the new Gossip Girl, you'll see the new similarities there when it comes to the rich people and their issues. But that's pretty much it I wanted to do for this video. I'm sorry this outro was a little but that's just pretty much all I wanted to say. To wrap it all up, I hope you guys can take something away from this and look at the media more between the lines. I hate the curtains are kind of blue type of criticism. I hate that. Like, actually, like, look at stuff, dissect it, and see what you can learn from it, because you can learn a lot from the media that you're watching that's not necessarily deemed as educational. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to support me, I have Patreon. Expensive is $1. The most expensive is $5. The cheapest is $1. Link down below. I posted a new Patreon only video there too. You guys can check it out if you're interested, and if you can, it's okay. I completely get it. I have donation links down below. I have Buy Me a Coffee, and I have a Ko-fi link to that down below. I have a GoFundMe campaign going on right now for my web series called The Progenies. We really would like to get back to filming. Please help us out. Donation is down below. Ways to support me for free. Wait, not free. I have merch at harriyannahook.com. Use code HOTSPOT30 for 30% off your order. Next, The Progenies, you can stream it for free down below. And another way, free way to support me is to follow me on everything at Harriyanna, HARRIYANNA. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good night.
Cause I work hard to get to this point in my life. I'm blowing up, so don't hate, just congratulate.
The Powerpuff Girls will just blow your mind. Buttercup like villains 3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt, and Blossom will lead them out of their rut. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind. Both wanna save the world before bedtime. From Townsville, Memphis, New York to LA. The Powerpuff Girls are just here to stay. They coming through and fighting, and everyone they're shocking. You know no one can stop them all because of the